Hello everybody, welcome back to Darwin Academy. Today I'm here to discuss the next topic under biology chapter 2 tissues, and that topic is permanent tissues. Permanent tissues. I hope all of you have been through the video in which I have discussed about meristematic tissues and also an overview of this entire chapter tissues. So I have already done two videos for this topic on tissues and this is the third part of it. Alright, I hope all of you are ready with your sheet of paper and pencil to jot down the important points. So let's get started. We are discussing tissues in plants in particular. Okay, we are looking at the tissues seen in plants. So we are looking at the permanent tissues, and more specifically we are looking at simple permanent tissues. I hope I have made myself clear. Alright. So we know how these simple permanent tissues are formed. A group of meristematic cells would have differentiated themselves and would have assumed a role for them, okay, and they would have differentiated or changed themselves permanently to suit that role. All right, that's how the permanent tissues would have formed. So today's topic is simple permanent tissues. Under this category, we'll be looking at three types. So let me reiterate, we are looking at simple permanent tissues in plants. Okay, we also have complex permanent tissues in plants, which I'll be discussing in the upcoming videos. Okay, so simple permanent tissues, you know, they have originated from a group of meristematic cells. So meristematic cells would have undergone differentiation to form permanent tissues. All right, so we will be looking at three types of simple permanent tissues. The first one being parenchyma. The second one is collenchyma. And the third simple permanent tissue in plants will be sclerenchyma. Okay, clear? So let's look at them one by one. So where do we find these simple permanent tissues in plants? Any idea? If you don't know, don't worry, I'll be there to help you out with. We see simple permanent tissues within the plants just below the epidermis of the plant. We will also look at what epidermis is, how different the epidermal layer is in plants that live in deserts to those that are living in normal tropical climate. Alright, so don't worry about that. At the moment, you just focus on simple permanent tissues. You have now learned that these tissues are present just below the epidermis within the plant. We are discussing the three main types of simple permanent tissue, and the first one being the parenchyma. These tissues are made up of living cells. Okay. How are these cells arranged? When I take a section through the plant body, I would notice that just below the epidermis, there are a lot of cells which are loosely arranged with intercellular spaces between them. So this is how a section through the simple permanent tissue, that is the parenchyma tissue, would appear. Okay. So this is under low power that you will see cells arranged like this. So you might not be able to see all the different parts within a cell, but this is how the cross section of a parenchyma tissue will look like. My main idea to draw this rough diagram is to show that you have space between the cells. The cells are more or less round in nature. There is space between them. They are living, okay, and also they help in storage of food. Is that clear? So, if these parenchyma cells have chloroplast within them, then they are called as chlorenchyma. So, chlorenchyma is a tissue, it is a type of parenchyma tissue wherein the parenchymatous cells have chloroplasts. So, invariably it means if they are having chloroplasts, that means they are participating in photosynthesis. We have another type of parenchyma tissue especially seen in aquatic plants. In aquatic plants, between these parenchyma cells, there are lot of air pockets. Why should there be air pockets in aquatic plants? Yes, of course, I think you have guessed it right. In order to keep the aquatic plants floating on the surface of the water, there is lot of air pockets between the parenchyma cells, and such parenchyma tissue is called as parenchyma. So they help to keep the aquatic plants floating, mainly helping in buoyancy, right? Okay, buoyancy, whatever. Fine. Let me quickly reiterate. We are looking at simple permanent tissues in plants. These simple permanent tissues are present just below the epidermal layer, and the first type of simple permanent tissue in plant is the parenchyma tissue. In this tissue, the cells are more or less round in nature. They are arranged in such a way that there are intercellular spaces. Apologies for the spelling, let me write it again. Intercellular space. That means space between the cells. There is lot of space between the cells. These cells are living. They mainly help in storage, and they are present in most part of the plant body, especially below the epidermis. If this parenchyma tissue has chloroplast within it, then such tissue is called as chlorenchyma. Since they have chloroplast, they help in photosynthesis, right? And since we all know that leaves are the photosynthetic organs in most of the plants, generally leaves have lot of chlorenchyma. Okay, and in especially aquatic plants, to keep them floating on the surface of water, parenchyma tissues will have lot of air pockets or air cavities in between them. Such kind of parenchyma is called as parenchyma. With this, we have completed parenchyma, and we will be moving into the next type, that is the chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma also consists of living cells. It is a tissue which has living cells. Okay. But the major difference here is these cells are slightly elongated when compared to the parenchyma cells. Okay. And also there are the cell walls here at their angles are deposited with some wall thickenings. So the cell walls are thick because of a deposition of a substance. Okay, at the angles only. I will tell you how that looks like. If I take a cross section through the chlorenchyma tissues, the cells will appear angular. Okay. Are you noticing that there are no intercellular spaces between the cells? right? Okay, so there are no intercellular spaces between the cells. They are compactly arranged. They are living cells. These cells are slightly elongated when compared to parenchyma cells, and at the angles they have deposition of certain substance which makes their walls at the angles thick. Okay, you might be wondering why are they having these wall thickenings at the angles only, or where you find the angles. Any idea or any guess on why should they have these thickenings only along the angles? This might be the vacuole. You will see the nucleus here, okay, and also other cell organelles in the cytoplasm. This is, mind you, this is just a rough diagram. I'm not spending my time drawing a neat diagram, okay? So, just want to make you understand the concept. Okay, this is the vacuole and you have the nucleus. So, it is the same in all cells. My question was, why should there be wall thickenings only at angles? This is to provide flexibility and mechanical support to the plant. Okay, so these tissues, when they are present within any plant organ, they provide mechanical support, and yet the plant organ will be flexible. I will help you understand. These kind of tissues are present in leaf stalks. Okay, the leaf stalk cannot be very rigid. It will have to be little bit flexible, but it also should have little bit of stiffness so that it can stand upright. So, to achieve this combined job or to achieve this common objective, there is collenchyma tissues whose walls are thickened only at the angles. Okay, so this provides the parts such as leaf stalks or stems of climbers. You might have seen climbers like money plant. The money plant is flexible. You can twist and turn it, but yet it has little bit of rigidity, not very rigid like a tree, isn't it? So, in order to prevent the plant organ from snapping or from breaking, it will have to be flexible, and also since we already have learnt in our previous chapter that plants don't have a skeletal system, isn't it? They need to have little bit of mechanical support as well. So that little bit of mechanical support is provided by the collenchyma tissues. So collenchyma tissues are found in stems of climbing plants. They are present in leaf stalks. They are also present in tendrils. You generally find these tendrils in climbing plants wherein you find those spring-like structures originating from the stem or very close to the leaf which will tangle onto the support. So, these tendrils will have collenchyma. They are giving flexibility and yet little bit of mechanical support. I hope this aspect is clear for you. With that, we will be moving on to the third part of simple permanent tissue, and that is sclerenchyma. I am erasing it so that you would know what particular type of tissue that I am talking about. I am erasing the part which I have already discussed. Sclerenchyma, unlike collenchyma and parenchyma, consists of dead cells. But why should we have dead cells within the plants? It is to provide mechanical support. Mechanical support to the plant, because plants don't have a skeletal system. Little bit of mechanical comes from collenchyma, but that is not sufficient. In case of trees, in case of tall plants, we need to have lot of mechanical support which is provided by sclerenchymatous tissue. Where is the sclerenchymatous tissue present? It is present very close to the vascular bundles. If you don't know what vascular bundles are, you need not have to worry. We'll be discussing about them in the upcoming videos. Okay. So at the moment, just understand that vascular bundles or around the vascular bundles, you find sclerenchyma tissues. Sclerenchyma tissues consist of cells which are dead. Okay. And they provide mechanical support. But how are these cells providing mechanical support? It is because their cell walls are layered with thick layer of a substance called as lignin. In collenchyma, you notice that there was cell wall thickening only at the angles, right? But in case of sclerenchyma, you will notice that the cell walls are layered with thick layers of a substance called as lignin, and as a result the cell cavity becomes very small. And how are these cells arranged? The cells are compactly arranged without leaving any intercellular spaces. That means just like collenchyma, there are no intercellular spaces between the cells of sclerenchyma. Okay. If I take a section of sclerenchyma tissue and observe it under the microscope, okay, then you will notice that these cells don't have any cell contents because they are dead at maturity. Okay, they are compactly arranged. There is no intercellular spaces. And also their walls are deposited with lot of lignin. Okay, so this will provide the cells with enough mechanical support to stand upright. Okay, and also you must remember that this thickening of the cell wall is so intense in sclerenchyma that the cell or the lumen of the cell is reduced to very tiny space. Consider that this is entire thing is lignin. Okay. Apologize for the shabby diagram. I just want to ensure that you understand the concept without spending more time drawing neat diagrams. Okay. So, now see, initially the cell lumen is so big. If there is so much of deposition of lignin along the walls, then see how much the space has reduced, isn't it? So, similarly, all cells will have lot of such lignin layer which will provide mechanical support. I hope you all have understood what simple permanent tissues are within the plants, and in the next video we'll be looking at complex permanent tissues. But before winding up, let me quickly reiterate the concepts that I've discussed very quickly. Are you all ready? You will have to be repeating it along with me. Hope you have all understood. Simple permanent tissues have originated from the meristematic tissues. After differentiation of meristematic tissues, these are found in plants just below the epidermal layer. There are three types of simple permanent tissues: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma and collenchyma consist of living cells, whereas sclerenchyma has dead cells at maturity. The role of parenchyma cells is to store food. The cells of the parenchyma are arranged close to each other, but there are a lot of intercellular spaces between them. Okay. If the parenchyma cells have chloroplasts within them, then they are called as chlorenchyma. If there is a lot of air pockets, or if there are too many air pockets between the parenchyma cells, then such kind of tissue is called as aerenchyma. Aerenchyma is seen in aquatic plants to keep them afloat or keep them floating. Parenchyma cells which have chloroplasts, they are called as chlorenchyma, isn't it? They are mainly seen in leaves and they help to carry out photosynthesis. Then, collenchyma is a type of simple permanent tissue where the cells are compactly arranged and there is no intercellular space between the cells. Okay, and at every angle of the cell, the wall is thickened by deposition of a substance. This provides mechanical support, little bit of mechanical support and flexibility to the plant. These kind of tissues are found in tendrils, are found in leaf stalks and stems of climbers, wherein flexibility is also required along with bit of mechanical support. The cells of collenchyma are slightly more elongated than the parenchyma cells. The third type is sclerenchyma, where the sclerenchyma or the cells that make up the sclerenchyma tissue are dead at maturity. It is mainly involved in providing mechanical support and there are no intercellular spaces between the cells of the sclerenchyma or the cells that make up the sclerenchyma tissue. These sclerenchymatous tissues are mainly present very close to the vascular bundles in the plants. We will see what vascular bundles are in the upcoming videos. And the walls of the sclerenchyma cells are deposited with a substance called as lignin, and as a result, the cell cavity or the lumen of the cell reduces considerably in size. With this, we will wind up the topic on simple permanent tissues. I hope all of you have understood the concept and please do like, share and subscribe to the Darwin Academy. See you all in the next one. Thank you.